The event is basically helping to raise money, as Domino said, for victims of domestic abuse. And it's a really noble event. You know, it's a great cause, and it's something that's close to a lot of people's hearts. Can you just talk a little bit about how important things like this are for the community?
Oh, I know it's very important. I worked for the shelter some years ago. I worked with Miss Harvard at a safe house. Yeah.
Great. So you definitely have an in-depth idea of, what's going on and how desperately stuff like this is needed.
The biggest thing I want people to take away from today is to know that there is help out here. You do not have to stay in your situation. There are always options. Anytime you feel threatened, get out. This event right here is to let everybody know that we are here.
And that child, they grow up old. It's normal to beat up on a woman, or it's normal to slap on a boy, and it's normal for people to call each other out of the names. That's not normal. That's not love. So how do we tackle that? So with my women's conference, our children, they mimic everything that we do. If we want to stop the social ill that Delegate Jackson was talking about, if we want to stop this horrible nightmare of an epidemic, we have to discuss. We have to be proactive instead of reactive. Talk to your babies. Let them know what love, be that positive example. Show them what love looks like. And when that sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Physical scars you can heal from most of the time, but those words, there is life and death in the tongue, and it cuts like a sword. And
did I ask you for money? No, I did not. It was the way that you called me honey. Did I ask you to take me on trips? No, I did not. But you stress I better watch what comes out of my lips.
This last assignment in domestic violence has been my worst. It has really, really been a violent time on the streets. We are trying our best. I just want to let you know what's happening as far as domestic violence is concerned. Currently at my office right now, we probably have about 200 domestic violence orders that come from the Commissioner's office every day, Hyattsville, Upper Marlboro. And that's not to include, we have a fax machine that I can't believe has not blown up. Faxes come from Anne Arundel County, Charles County, Montgomery County, St. Mary's County, Baltimore City. Every day we get faxes for domestic violence orders and requests for them to be served. And we want them to be served because we fax our orders out as well. It's all about networking, just like the champion, Miss Addison, said, and also Mike Jackson. It's a collaborative effort. We can't do it by ourselves. We need the community. Last year, Mother's Day, unfortunately, as we're interviewing a woman for domestic violence on Mother's Day, a gentleman who we identified as an abuser came back to the scene. We ended up getting in a chase with him, ended up involved in the shooting. The Census Bureau, you all heard about that incident, domestic. That was a horrific incident that happened at High Point High School. That woman, the victim, unfortunately, did everything she could possibly do as a person who was involved in domestic violence. She had a protective order. That gentleman came to my office, 5303 Chrysler Way, 3 or 4 weeks prior, turned in 6 weapons. He had 4 more. It's not if, it's when. And we have to be ready for the win, right? That's why we're reaching out. We need these partnerships. They're essential. So we are trying our best, but we cannot do it without your support.
I want you all for just a second to just imagine, just for a second, imagine being a child and not recalling not being touched inappropriately. That was me as a child. At an early age, I was molested by several family members. At the ages of 11, 14, and 26, I was raped. He was so nice in the beginning, as they always are. He was a gentleman. He was holding doors for me and saying all the right things. And then eventually, within a 2-month period, he started to change. I know he began to be possessive. He wanted everywhere I went. I could not even work. He would come to my job and literally sit in my job. I managed a restaurant lounge. He would sit in there and watch me. And if anyone talked to me longer than he thought they should have, he would start a physical altercation with them. Until the point where he got put out of my job. And then he would call my job and tell me to take the phone off the hook so he could hear everything that was going on. Needless to say, that didn't last. Then, I never thought anything of it because I myself grew up in an abusive household. I watched my father beat my mother for years, up until I was 10. And then we actually ran here in DC to the House of Ruth when we ran from my father. And I was kidnapped. I've endured a lot of the things that I've heard today, I have lived through. And, my thing was with him, because he was so nice and everything, the fact that he wasn't beating me, I didn't consider it abuse.
To be honest with you guys, I'm not speaking for myself, I'm speaking on behalf of my mother, who was a victim of domestic violence. For the majority of my life, until I was about 16 or 17 years old, I lived my life in fear. I was afraid of my father. From my earliest memory is seeing my dad drag my mother through the house and beating her. Often, I got beaten so bad to the point where she would step in and she would kind of say, hey, stop, don't do it. And he would turn his wrath on her. But that's the images that I grew up with as a child. I've been beaten to the point where I saw my blood going down the drain while I was taking a shower. Imagine. The neighborhood I grew up in, a lot of my friends are dead. Domestic violence was common. That was, for us, domestic violence was how you raise your children. So me getting knocked to the wall, me being knocked out, me bleeding, that's just how it was. But it's like now looking back at everything that I've been through, it's like I see that God had a plan because I could have ended up dead. I could have ended up in jail. I could have allowed that hurt to truly eat away at me, but I didn't. Because there was a hope, and there was a promise, and there was a purpose for it all. See, now that I have my son, I can understand my father a little bit better. For a long time, I dealt with unforgiveness. And unforgiveness is something that literally will cause you health issues, will cause you not to step out on faith, will cause you to hinder your blessings. So now that I have my son and I look at him and I understand my father a little bit better now because he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know how to raise a child. He was a child himself. My parents had me when they were 17, 16 years old. And now I've learned to forgive him because at the end of the day, he's just human just like each and every one of us. For the women who are survivors in the crowd today, I just want to say, you guys are walking miracles. Yeah. You have a testimony. You have a story. You have something that can empower the next generation of young women. Share your story. Don't be ashamed of the scars. We are a community. It's not about race. It's not about sexual orientation. It's not about any of that. We are a community. We are a human race. We are people. Each and every person in this crowd has a story to share. And we begin to share it and not be ashamed of our scars. You can't see what I've been through. You can't. And I live life now smiling in joy because I understand that I could have been here, but God saw fit to leave me here. The day that my life changed is the day that I stopped trying to do it by myself. There's a community of people here that's in this audience that are willing to help you. Whatever you need, if there's an area of strength, if you need something financial, you have a connection. If you need something on the authority side, you have a connection. If you need somebody in the office, we have connections now. But we have to utilize that to strengthen each other.
Start with your longest abuser. Talk about that person. Talk about the person that abused you for over 20 years. That after every other individual had left, they still continued to hurt you. They still continued to repeat things that were hurtful to your mind. Who was that person? It was me. I was my worst abuser. After every situation and the person moved on, I found myself telling myself, you're not worth anything. That's why this happened to you. That's why. Why are you even here? What is the point? And then I would tell myself, oh, don't talk about your feelings. Nobody got time for that. Nobody has time to hear your pain. Everybody's going through something. Don't talk about it. Until about 2 years ago, all of that landed me right in the behavioral hospital.
I'm also a survivor of domestic violence, and for me, what came to my heart for today was just to, again, to promote awareness and to encourage everyone to educate yourself about what abuse is. Because a lot of times you're in a situation and you don't even realize you're being abused. because you're not being physically assaulted, you're thinking, oh, I'm not abused. I may be in an unhealthy relationship, but I'm not being abused. And that was one of the issues that I dealt with until it escalated to the physical aspect. I didn't realize that I was being isolated, I was being financially abused, and even sexually abused. So it's like at the end of the day, you sit here and you don't realize the situation you're in. So you have to be able to be willing to do research. When people are saying things and they're giving out information, read it, listen, because at the end of the day, they're giving you something that you may not know about.
Ever feel like you're at a point where you feel like you might think about going back, call me. We'll go have some dinner, we'll go have lunch, we'll have a girls' day, we'll do whatever it is that needs to be done so that you understand that your life is more valuable than anything else in this world.
Because the last words he told me was that on Sunday you would be dead. 3 children I had at this point, 3 months, 15 months, and 4 years old were our very own daughters. All night long I prayed, all night long I cried. Lord, if you save me this time, if you bring me out this time, I won't go back. And so God, in the midnight hour, heard my cry, heard my tears, in the silent bowels of my spirit and my soul. He heard me because by Sunday morning, dead by Sunday, was dead himself. When I think about the goodness of God, this is what causes me to come here and all across this earth and to let somebody know that God is able to bring you out.
She is a survivor of domestic abuse. Look how young. It has no age limit. It has none, but she's a survivor. I'm not going to stop until every bill is passed that can possibly be passed that will stop man, woman, whomever from putting their hands on somebody else to try to take their life. It's not going to end right here. It won't. It will not.